Overlanding to India, episode 15, East Uzbekistan. After many days of experiencing a lot of heat in the king cities of the Silk Road and in the deserts in between, we were looking for a place of a little more freshness. We found some mountains and a place called the Eagle Rock Resort. Actually, we just found it on Google. And indeed, it was a lot colder than we have experienced over the past few weeks. Near the resort was a waterfall which you could reach on foot. The resort and the waterfall are in between some red mountains. And if you are lucky, you might find some Yeti there. But this time we didn't see one. On the way over, we noticed some rusty piping. Later in this video you will see what the water is used for, which is transported in these pipes.
Now I got wet feet.
Directly next to the resort, we noticed that there is a place where the people from the village below gathered. Here they were cooking together, doing the dishes and also washing their clothes. This is the classic style of living together in this mountain region. So now you know what the water from the pipes was used for. Then the villagers left the place with their typical Damas vans. Next door, a guy was mixing a lot of sugar with water to make sugar water for the bees, which we saw earlier in this video. Yes, it was a nice evening in the Eagle Rock Resort. The next day we travel on towards Margillon, a place on the Silk Road where they actually still produce silk. In Margillon, we visit one of the few still existing traditional silk factories. So how does it work? The silk caterpillar sits inside its cocoon of silk threads. The cocoons, with that caterpillar still inside, are collected. Then they are drenched in water to soften them. The worker takes very thin threads of multiple cocoons. Then he spools them to one, still very thin thread. The next step is dyeing. I mean, putting color on the threads. Sometimes the dye is applied on complete threads, sometimes it's only locally dyed. In this part of the video you can see unicolor threads woven into a certain pattern. You can see that their colors are clearly separated here. In the other principle, partly dyed patterns, you get completely different shapes. These are more difficult to make and hence more expensive. In the same workshop also carpets are woven. Sometimes these take more than a year to complete. Obviously, then you are kindly invited to come into the tourist shop where they sell their products. Here we learn that the silk is also frequently mixed with cotton to make the products more affordable. But actually, you can feel the difference to 100% real silk. Anyway, when you ride the Silk Road, you must visit a silk factory. The next morning, after some refreshing rain showers, we proceeded towards the border of Kyrgyzstan. At the train crossing, we had to wait for an old Soviet electrical train. It was beautifully restored and looked really nice. It pulled a very long cargo train. If you look to the border crossing itself, you can see that there are flaps standing up to prevent people from crossing the border whilst the train is coming. And yes, this is needed in Uzbekistan. Then we arrive at the closest border to Margillon. It turns out, however, that this border crossing is only permitted for citizens of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. Well, we are not, so the gate is closed in front of us and we have to take a 120-kilometer detour to the next border crossing. The actual border crossing into Kyrgyzstan is however smooth and easy. See you in the next video from Osh.